A complete excerpt from the Grand Bible, 4th Revised Edition 2022, the Instructions of Shuruppak, the Teachings of King Shuruppak, or the 100 Commandments of Shuruppak. You're probably wondering, who is this king and where was he from? This is actually a Near East, Mesopotamian or Assyrian city. This king probably ruled it, so it was named after him. Related texts in the Grand Bible, 4th edition. The Instructions of Shuruppak and the Teaching of Khem are the oldest compilations of law. They are the direct blueprint for the Ten Commandments. The 5 precepts, the halakha law, the sharia law, and all modern laws. As the 5 books of Moses in the Torah are considered the law of God in the entirety by all Hebrews, so is the Islamic trilogy, Quran, Sirah, Hadith, considered Allah's laws in its entirety by all Muslims, wherever they happen to be. See the last 7 examples in the list down below. Ignoring this fact has disastrous consequences for Western and some Eastern countries. The Instructions of Shuruppak, Sumer, around 2600 BC, page 5219. The Teachings of Khem, Egypt, around 2600 BC, page 516, and so forth. And the Islamic Declaration on Human Rights, 1990, Islamic Law, page 5137. The Arab Charter on Human Rights, 2004, Islamic Law, page 5139, and so forth. Image plate number 3. The origin of Moses' covenant. The tablets with the 100 instructions of Shuruppak, around 2600 to 2500 BC, found in 1963 at Tel Abu Salabek, 20 kilometers 12 miles northwest of Nippur, Iraq. The similarities to the Ten Commandments are striking. Thou shouldst not question the words of thy mother. Thou shouldst not question the words of thy mother and thy personal God. The instructions of the father should be compiled with, thou shouldst not kill, thou shouldst not steal anything, thou shouldst not have sex with thy slave girl, thou shouldst not abduct a wife, thou should not break into a house, thou should not wish for the money chest. A complete excerpt from the Grand Bible, page 5219. Denomination of the text, Sumerian. The Instructions of Shuruppak. The Teachings of King Shuruppak, the 100 Commandments of Shuruppak, original translation anonymous, estimated range of dating 2600 to 2500 BC. Language is one of the main attributes that can make us understand cultural relations. Sumerian was a language isolate spoken by most people in Mesopotamia throughout the 4th and 3rd millennia BC. The Semitic Akkadian language, apparently these Sumerians weren't Semitic, but these Akkadians were. The Semitic Akkadian language spoken by Assyrians and Babylonians gradually replaced Sumerian during the last half of the 3rd millennium, and it even became a kind of international language used in Egypt, Anatolia and Persia. Well, we're just thinking the Sumerians may have been Semite after all, if they were the ones that first spoke the language of God, the Lishana Artika Cypraea, or sacred scribal language of God, the Old Tongue. The Semitic Akkadian language spoken by Assyrians and Babylonians gradually replaced Sumerian during the last half of the 3rd millennium, and it even became a kind of international language used in Egypt, Anatolia and Persia. The Sumerian cuneiform script and most contents of the Sumerian cuneiform tablets, however, were absorbed by those new Semitic people. Their language and culture was closely related to Phoenician, Canaanite, a Semitic language spoken by Phoenicians, Hebrews and Aramaeans. That was probably the Ugaritic. These people replaced the very complex Akkadian cuneiform script with a consonantal cuneiform alphabet Abjad from around either the 15th or 14th century BC, which in turn was replaced with the easy-to-use consonantal Phoenician alphabet only 2 or 3 centuries later. See Grand Bible Image Plate 57 to 60. This was the very ancestor of all alphabets in the world that followed. The Semitic Aramaic language gradually replaced Akkadian as well as Canaanite and Hebrew towards the beginning of the first millennium BC. Scholars, though, still read the original cuneiform records up until the 2nd century AD. So, the Aramaic gradually replaced the Akkadian as well as Canaanite with Ugaritic, and the Hebrew toward the beginning of the first millennium BC. This line of language and script evolution explains to a large extent why precepts, laws, and narratives that we can find in the Torah, Pentateuch, 5 books of Moses, the 10 Commandments, or the 613 mitzvot, are surprisingly similar to the contents of the cuneiform tablets found in Mesopotamia. And this is what Aramaic, native-born Aramaic-speaking translator Victor N. Alexander has done. He's translated the 3,000 years older cuneiform tablets of Mesopotamia, apparently. In fact, the conveyed precepts and laws of the ancient cuneiform tablets were the basis of the halakha, the Jewish law. As the Christians have taken the Hebrew Bible, which they called Old Testament, as part of their very own scripture, these contents have influenced also Christianity. A fair amount of those ancient precepts, such as purity laws and 5 precepts, can also be found in India and China, possibly because of Thomas, etc., travelling to those countries, spreading the gospel, possibly, or others. In 1963 and 1965, an American expedition from the Oriental Institute of Chicago, led by Donald P. Hanson, made an amazing find at Abu Salabik, which lies around 20 kilometers, 12 miles northwest of the site of the ancient city of Nippur in Al-Qadisiyah Governorate, Iraq. During the excavation campaign that lasted for a total of 8 weeks, the archaeologists found around 500 tablets and fragments containing some of the earliest ancient literature. Among them was the book Instructions of Shuruppak. This book is a sensation, as it is the very oldest example of the commandments or precepts, which much later appeared in the Bible and manuscripts in India and China. The book was written on clay tablets, which were found in a low tell or mound of Abu Salabik. Its contemporary name probably was Eresh, and it was a small Sumerian city of the mid-3rd millennium BC, with cultural connections to the cities of Kish, Mari, and Ebla. This book was obviously written to teach virtues in order to preserve community standards. The about 100 precepts are placed in the mouth of a king, Shuruppak, son of Ubara Tutu. Ubara Tutu is recorded in the Sumerian king list as being the final king of Sumer prior to the deluge. The ancient Sumerian city of Shuruppak probably was named after King Shuruppak. Pretty logical. It was situated not far away from the finding place of the clay tablets, at the site of the modern Tel Farah, about 55 kilometers, 35 miles, south of Nippur, on the banks of the Euphrates in Iraq's Al-Qadisiyah Governorate. The text consists of admonitory sayings of King Shuruppak addressed to his son Zeusudra. We've done a video on that. The flood hero, who is also known as Utnapishtim or Pishtim in Akkad, probably Akkadian, with that place, Akkad. Lots of the book's precepts bear resemblance to those ones which we can read in the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, but the commandments of King Shuruppak are far more detailed, much more direct, and refreshingly blunt. Here is a little selection. Thou shouldst not speak arrogantly to thy mother. Thou shouldst not kill. thou shouldst not steal, thou shouldst not commit robbery, and so forth. Some of the commandments are purely practical. Thou shouldst not locate a field on a road, thou shouldst not make a well in thy field, people will cause damage on it for thee. Lines 15-18. Moral precepts are followed by the negative practical results of transgression. Thou shouldst not play around with a married young woman. The slander could be serious. Lines 32-34. So they're basically telling you the laws and explaining what's the consequences of it at times. Community opinion and the possibility of slander, line 35, play a major role. Whether the valued opinion of the courtyard, line 62, or the less valued opinion of the marketplace, where insults and stupid speaking receive the attention of the land, line 142. The square brackets, they look like parentheses, refer to the gaps of the text. The round brackets contain the editor's suggestions or give extra information. Text, Book 1. The first delivery of commandments. In those days, in those far remote days, in those nights, in those faraway nights, in those years, in those far remote years, at that time the wise one who kneweth how to speak in elaborate words lived in the land. Shuruppak, the wise one who kneweth how to speak with elaborate words lived in the land. We're going to translate that into English, so it's not Shakespeare speak. Right? Shuruppak gave instructions to his son, Sudra, my son, let me give you instructions. You should pay attention. Sudra, let me speak a word to you. Thou should pay attention. Do not neglect my instructions. Do not transgress the words I speak. Do not transgress the words I speak. Instructions of an old man are precious. You should comply with them. You should not buy a donkey which brays. It'll split your midriff. You shouldn't locate a field on a road. You shouldn't plough a field at a road or a path. Well, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? Pretty logical and common sense. Don't start planting your harvest in the middle of a road where people are going to walk over it. You shouldn't make a well in your field. People will cause damage on it for you. You shouldn't place your house next to a public square. There's always a crowd there. They'll be forever in your house, right? Damage your house, etc. On your lawn. They become a pest. You should not vouch for someone. That man will have a hold on you, and in regard to yourself, you shouldn't let somebody vouch for you. That man will despise you. You should not make an inspection on a man. The flood will give it back to you. And so forth. You shouldn't hang around where there's a quarrel. Don't let the quarrel make you a witness, etc. And there's more here. Book 2, the second delivery of commandments. A second time Shuruppak gave instructions to his son. Shuruppak, the son of Ubara Tutu, gave instructions to his son Zeusudra. My son, let me give you instructions. You should pay attention. Zeusudra, let me speak a word to thee, or to you. You should pay attention. Do not neglect my instructions. Do not transgress the words I speak. One manuscript adds the line, the instructions of an old man are precious. You should comply with them. The beer drinking mouth talks. My little one, be careful. The beer drinking mouth flustereth. It talks a load of dribble, right? It doesn't stop. Ninkasi, the goddess of alcohol and beer, laughs at you. 5 lines unclear. The palace is like a mighty river. Its middle is goring bulls. What flows in is never enough to fill it, and what flows out can never be stopped. When it is about someone else's bread, it is easy to say, I will give it to you, but the time of actual giving can be as far away as the sky. If you go after the man who said, I'll give it to you, he will say, I cannot give it to you. The bread has just been finished up. It sounds like someone who borrows you money, then you go say, well, okay, you said you're going to pay me on Tuesday, where is it? And they say, I'm making an excuse, I'll pay you next week. And they try to buddy up, I'll give you extra next week, and then they don't. And continue like that, right? Property is something to be expanded, but nothing can equal his children, or his little ones. The artistic mouth recites words, the harsh mouth brings litigation, documents, the sweet mouth gathers sweet herbs, and so forth. Okay, in Book 3, the third delivery of commandments, the third time Shuruppak gave instructions to his son. Shuruppak, the son of Ubaratutu, gave instructions to his son Ziusudra. My son, let me give you instructions, and you should pay attention. Ziusudra, let me speak a word to you that you should pay attention, and you should pay attention. Do not neglect my instructions. Do not transgress the words I speak. Some manuscripts add the line, the instructions of an old man are precious, and you should comply with them. You should not beat a farmer's son. He has constructed your embankments and ditches. Yeah, don't do that if he's working for you, right? You should not buy a prostitute. She is a mouth that bites. Yeah, okay. Maybe not. Okay. Maybe she gossips and means something like that. Not really sure. You shouldn't buy a house-born slave. He is a herb that makes its stomach sick, and so forth. And it's got a couple of manuscript. Manuscript adds a couple of lines that are unclear. May the boat with the evil sink in the river. May his waterskin split in the desert. That's obviously the water bag that he has, right? When he's going through the desert. So near to die of thirst. It's like a curse upon the guy, right? Okay, and here's some more here. Don't ever marry a woman whose heart hates you, my son. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. Good common sense there. A female burglar. I'm not too sure what the next one is. Ladder. She flies into the house like a fly. A she-donkey on the street. Maybe she brays like a she-donkey on the street. And so forth. A heart which overflows with joy. Nothing at all is to be valued, but life should be sweet. You should not serve things. Things should serve thee, or you, my son. You shouldn't abuse a female sheep, otherwise it'll give birth to a daughter. Okay, so what is he saying? You shouldn't sleep with a sheep, because they might end up giving you a daughter. It's kind of weird. Don't abduct a wife, and you shouldn't make her cry. The place where the wife is abducted becomes the graveyard of her heart. Let us run in circles saying, oh my foot, oh my neck. Let us with united forces make the mighty bow. Well, these kind of weird sayings. Okay, you should not speak arrogantly to your mother. It causes hatred for you. You should despise you, she'll hate you. You should not question the words of your mother and your personal god. The mother, like Utu, one of their pagan gods probably, given birth to the man. The father, like a god, maketh him bright, or makes him wise or clever. The father is like a god, his words are reliable. The instructions of the father should be complied with. Without suburbs, the city has no centre either. Yeah, usually suburbs have in a city have a centre, right? Everyone can gather and all that sort of stuff. Pretty interesting sayings. They're a little bit zany, you know. But these are the things that this king said to his son, and there was instructions, so he wanted his son to follow them, follow his wisdom, his instruction, etc. His gift of words was something which soothed the mind. When it came into the palace, it soothed the mind. The gift of many words, possibly something like as numerous as the stars. We're not really sure. We're just ad-libbing. These are the instructions given by Shuruppak, the son of Ubara Tutu. Praise be to the lady who completed the great tablets, the maiden Nisaba, the goddess of writing, learning, and the harvest. That Shuruppak, the son of Ubara Tutu, gave his instructions. End of text. So yeah, they'll be pagan gods. Yeah, that's what that'll be. Okay, that's the end of that. Hopefully that was interesting to you, an eye-opener, that the instructions of Shuruppak came before the laws of Moses, it's saying, and they obviously in cuneiform, on a cuneiform text, on a tablet, and pretty similar, but they went into greater detail. And they're not saying that Moses read these and he copied them, plagiarized them, or anything like that. Yeah, pretty much the same. Similarities to the Ten Commandments are very striking, according to this author, researcher, this particular Grand Bible translator, etc. Yeah, weeds writing, very, very ancient, very, very old. Looks so complicated, but you know, certain people could write it, read it, understand it, but they needed a much easier, much simpler language, because this was quite difficult. So they were looking for an easier language, and they possibly found it through the Aramaic and so forth. So if you like this video, subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, add your comments below, because you may be a reader of the Grand Bible and you may think, wow, that's great, but have a look at this one. And we'll have a look at it. We'll get back to you on your comments if you add some, and then go share this video, an excerpt from the Grand Bible, page 5219, Sumerian text, cuneiform text, in relation to the Ten Commandments. These came before the actual Ten Commandments, but as it says here, they are very, or they strikingly similar. They just go into more detail.